Hey everyone, the last section that we're going to be going through for chapter 1 in this class is organ systems. And this has a little bit of meat to it, right? We learned in the previous week that we have a lot of regional terms that we need to know where there was a ton of terminology. This stuff is a little bit more about learning structures and some functions that go with each organ system relating to the body. And then as we continue on in this course, you'll learn about specific organ systems as they relate to our course objectives relating to exercise, diet and nutrition, things like that. But we're going to cover each different organ system in the body for this last portion of chapter 1. So these organ systems listed here on this page are part of the ones that are for body covering, support, and movement. So we'll start with the integumentary system. This is representing the skin and any additional structures that go along with the skin. This could be hair, sweat glands, sebaceous glands, things like that. But the skin is the primary organ for the integumentary system, and it is referred to as the integument. Some functions for this system. It covers the body, which provides really good protection, okay, either against mechanical injury or anything that might be trying to invade the body. Part of your skin has body temperature regulation. You have sweat glands in your skin that when you get overheated, you sweat, right? Which is supposed to evaporate and cool down your skin, cool down your body. Your skin is very useful also for sensory reception. We feel a lot of things through our skin. This could be touch, pressure, pain, those types of things. And then another really important function of the skin is it is part of the production for active vitamin D. Your skin becomes activated by UV radiation. Vitamin D within the skin, its pre-form, gets activated, and then eventually this starts a process to where we go to the kidneys and the liver and we make the actual real vitamin D active form, which will help us regulate calcium in our blood, which is really good for our bones. Vitamin D has also been shown to be really good for the immune system, so your skin is playing part in that. So that's the integumentary system. Next system is the skeletal system. This includes your bones that make up your skeleton, as well as the joints that connect those bones together. And you already know the functions for the skeletal system most likely. It helps with support and movement. It provides a framework for the body. Your skeletal system is implicit in protecting your internal organs, right? We have certain bones in certain areas to protect very special internal organs. Your bones can serve as attachment sites for connective tissues and muscles. They have some good functions. They store inorganic salts, okay, like calcium and phosphorus, which we might need later in the body. And a really great function of bone is it helps with the production of blood cells. That process is a scientific term called hematopoiesis, but inside your bones, you have bone marrow, and they are producing your blood cells. So super important function for the skeletal system. The last system on this slide is muscular system, and we mostly focus on skeletal muscle for this. Those are the muscles attached to your skeleton, and their main purpose is for support and movement, and muscles really allow us to do a lot of the movement that we do. Another really important function for muscular system is the production of body heat. So when you're cold, right, and you're trying to regulate your body's temperature, you shiver. And anytime your muscles move, whether you're exercising or shivering because it's cold, it's producing heat, which is very, very helpful as part of a function of the muscular system. Lastly, a lot of your muscles help provide your posture, and this works alongside the skeletal system. Just to see a few pictures of this. These are kind of representing our systems. This is something you might expect to see on an exam where I show you one of these pictures and you tell me what the primary system is. It would not have the name underneath. This is showing just the skin. This person's in correct anatomical position, and they will be for all of these pictures. But if we see just the skin, we know that we're in the integumentary system. If we are focusing on bones and joints, we're in the skeletal system. And then these are all these skeletal muscles attached to the bone. So we would know we're in the muscular system for this picture. Next couple systems. These ones are organized by integration and coordination. So, kind of the control centers of the body. So, for the nervous system, you have your central nervous system, which makes up your brain and spinal cord. And then you have your peripheral nervous system, which is all these nerves that are going to branch off of the brain and spinal cord. And their main function is integration and coordination of other organs and their functions. They do this by sending nerve impulses. This could be electrical impulses. This could also be chemical ones when they produce neurotransmitters, which are chemicals that nerves or nerve cells use to communicate throughout the body. And typically, when we do any kind of communication and coordination with our organs using the nervous system, these are rapid and short-term effects that are going to happen. The endocrine system works hand in hand with your nervous system. It also controls and regulates your body's functioning. These are comprised of a number of different organs, some of which are nervous system structures, but how they communicate is chemically through hormones. So, a lot of our neurons, our nerve cells, they communicate through neurotransmitters, and that's how they're going to function. In the endocrine system, these are different glands and other organs that produce hormones, and that's how they communicate. Hormones can have a few different functions, but a lot of them go into the bloodstream and need to travel to their target tissue so that they can act for integration and coordination. And so we would say that because of that travel time that has to take place, that your endocrine system has slower, longer lasting effects because of the hormones moving throughout your system. If we want to see a picture of this, okay, we've got here, this is just a male, right, in correct anatomical position. We see the brain and the spinal cord in here, and we see all those yellow nerves coming off. This is representative of the nervous system. For endocrine, we have male and female because your sex organs also provide a function as an endocrine gland. And so we can see we've got lots of endocrine structures here. The brain is part of this. There are parts of the brain that function and produce hormones. We've got the thyroid gland here, butterfly-shaped gland in the neck. Right around the heart, we have the thymus, another gland. We've got your pancreas and your kidneys with their adrenal glands on top. And then we've got the reproductive organs. So we've got the ovaries and the uterus, okay, in the female, and we've got the testes in the male, all of which serve some sort of function endocrine-wise because they produce hormones that help control and integrate things in the body. This next organ system group, these ones focus on transport, and this is likely transport of nutrients of some kind or waste throughout the body to keep the body functioning in homeostasis. So we have the cardiovascular system first. Cardio meaning heart, vascular meaning blood vessels. So this is implicit with the heart and all the blood vessels in the body as part of the cardiovascular system. Their main functions, and these are giving functions of blood, okay? Transportation of gases. We transport nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide throughout the body. We transport nutrients. We transport blood cells to different areas. This is not just red blood cells showing up and dropping off oxygen and picking up carbon dioxide. This is also white blood cells helping with your immune function, as well as platelets helping with blood clotting. Hormones take their travel through the bloodstream. And then we also have waste that travels through the bloodstream until it is filtered out at some sort of organ. For our other system, this is the lymphatic system. This one involves lymphatic organs, okay? And you might think of the most common lymphatic organ as your lymph nodes, which are found throughout the body, and any lymphatic vessels. These types of vessels are side by side with your blood vessels, but they don't carry blood. They carry a substance called lymph. And lymph has other functions for being part of your tissue fluids. And so this lymphatic system is also for transport. It transports fluids, which are called lymph, into tissue spaces, which then can be absorbed by the bloodstream. Your lymph fluid carries fat, okay, as part of our digestion process. And the lymphatic system is home to a lot of your white blood cells, okay, some active immune cells that defend your body against infection. So we could also call the lymphatic system your immune system as well. These are what they're going to look like. So in the red and blue, and then we have the heart in the center, this is the cardiovascular system. The red is representing your arteries, right, carrying oxygenated blood, which would be red. And the blue is representing your veins, which are carrying deoxygenated blood, which will have a blue hue. And then we have the heart in the middle, which is that pumping action for all that blood throughout the body. Lymphatic system or your immune system usually shows up green on most models. We can see here we've got all these green lymphatic vessels. And then if you look closely, there's these small circular structures. These are all lymph nodes, okay? And we do have a few other things like the thymus right here produces your T cells, which are a type of white blood cell that helps with infection. And we also have the spleen here, okay, as another structure that is part of the lymphatic system. For some of our other organ systems, okay, as we near the end here, we have organ systems that are useful for absorption. So we're absorbing nutrients, or excretion, we are getting rid of waste by excreting. This includes the digestive system, respiratory system, and your urinary system. So for digestive system, this includes digestive organs, okay, so your stomach, your small intestines. Your small intestines actually have names. There's three parts: duodenum, ileum, and jejunum. And then your large intestines, which have multiple parts as well, mostly they're called colons, and we have a variety of colons attached to each other. We also have your cecum as well as your appendix kind of coming off of here. And in the digestive system, we have accessory organs. Your liver and your gallbladder are accessory organs, your pancreas is, all playing a digestive role of some kind. The main function of the digestive system is obviously to receive food, break it down, absorb any nutrients that we can, and then we excrete waste. So when we receive food, usually we might think of digestive organs, which we'll get to a little bit later on in future chapters, as our mouth, our teeth, our throat, our pharynx, our esophagus. And then we have food breakdown starting in the mouth, but then continuing in the stomach. We have breakdown of food in the small intestines, but then in our small intestines, we also absorb a lot of nutrients. And then by the time we make it to the large intestine, we are starting to produce feces, right? We're starting to excrete waste that we want to remove from the body. Next system is the respiratory system. It includes most respiratory structures. I just had a few written here. The most common ones, your lungs, your trachea, and bronchi, which are part of the branching from the trachea and how your oxygen gets to your lungs. Main purpose is to move air in and out of the body. We have exchange of gases, primarily oxygen and carbon dioxide is what we focus on. And this would be exchanged between the air that comes into the lungs and all those blood capillaries that surround the lungs. And again, one of our big functions is we want to absorb oxygen that we breathe in from the air. The last system for absorption and excretion is the urinary system. And the key organs here are the kidneys and your urinary bladder. We do have a few other structures like your ureters, which connect your kidneys to your bladder, and your urethra, which allows you to release urine from your body. The main functions of this system is that your kidneys filter your blood for wastes, okay? And so when they filter the blood, they are going to pick up different wastes that are going to make their way into your urine. Part of the function with this as well is to regulate your electrolyte and water balance. We do this in the kidneys. And also, your kidneys play a role in blood pressure regulation. The main product of the urinary system is urine, and it is excreted to the outside of the body from the bladder out your urethra. So these are those systems for absorption and excretion. These are what they're going to look like. So this is all the digestive organs in here. We'll get a lot more into it as we go through. Up in the mouth, we can kind of see our salivary glands. We can see the mouth itself, our pharynx, our throat, our esophagus. Stomach is right over here, okay? And we have our liver and gallbladder here. In this middle, in this pink, is your three different parts of your small intestine, eventually making its way to these different large intestine structures, your colons, and then out the rectum and the anus. Okay, so these are all kind of structures for the digestive system. This is the respiratory system, and we can see we've got the lungs here, we've got our trachea, and then all these branches off of the trachea leading with air to the lungs are called bronchi. And then lastly, for the urinary system, we have our two kidneys, our ureters, which connect our kidneys to our bladder here, and then we have structures that lead out of the body for our urethra. This is our last organ system, I believe. Yes. Okay. So reproductive system. We're not going to get too much into the reproductive system in this class in particular, but if you are super interested, I highly recommend taking an A&P class, anatomy and physiology. But your reproductive system here, we both have male and female because there are different structures. Their main functions is to transport sex cells, okay, and produce them. They produce different types of hormones, which is why we saw these systems in the endocrine system. And even we have the production of new organisms, right, in the female. And the female body, her reproductive system provides areas of support for fetal development as well as childbirth. Some of the structures we might have here, right? We've got the testes, we've got the prostate, okay? And here we have the ovaries and the uterus. Lots of different structures for the reproductive system, but those are just the internal organs. And that is it for chapter one. We've kind of spent a lot of time in chapter one just to get those basics down for A&P, but it'll be very useful when we start moving into different organ systems for our future chapters. Again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Thanks.